Once you understand what's really happening in the dating market, the entire landscape suddenly makes sense. For years, people claimed men stopped approaching because they'd gotten soft, timid, lazy, or socially anxious. And women repeated that story because it was convenient, because the alternative would force them to question the culture they helped create. But the truth is far simpler and far more uncomfortable. Men didn't back away because they lost courage. They backed away because they ran the numbers. And once you calculate the cost of a modern approach, you realize the math has completely collapsed. The danger is sky high, the reward is tiny, and the entire environment is wired to blow up in your face. If you've sensed this shift, you're not imagining it, you're simply paying attention. You can test this reality in real time. Go sit in a cafe, at a mall, or in a public space and just observe men and women around you. Watch carefully. Men avoid eye contact. They don't smile. They don't initiate. They pass by attractive women as if they're scenery. Nothing is accidental. It's deliberate. It's strategic. Modern self-preservation. Your grandfather could walk up to a woman, get a polite, "No thanks," shrug, and go back to his day. Try that today, and you could end up recorded, smeared online, labeled a threat, and shamed in front of thousands before lunch. The social rules didn't evolve. They detonated. And men responded the same way anyone responds when the rules become unpredictable and dangerous. They opt out. When a man even thinks about approaching today, he runs a mental risk assessment that's more complex than what soldiers use when clearing rooms. And every variable flashes red. The first layer is the social risk, the possibility she'll react dramatically, loudly, or with disgust strong enough to burn the moment into everyone's memory. Her friends will reinforce her reaction even if you were polite. Worse, the other women nearby will assume the worst about you because the culture now treats male interest as a threat until proven otherwise, and there's no mechanism to prove innocence. Once the word creepy is spoken, the verdict is final. I saw this happen just last week. A guy at a bar walked up to a woman respectfully, introduced himself, and made small talk. She wasn't interested, totally fine. But instead of a simple decline, she turned it into a scene. Loud voice. Dramatic expression like he'd done something vile. Then she told her friends he was creepy. He hadn't crossed a single boundary. He hadn't done anything any previous generation would have called inappropriate. And yet within seconds, everyone in that venue had silently filed him under problem. One woman's performance rewrote his reputation instantly. But the modern threat isn't just social, it's digital. You can now be filmed anytime, without your knowledge, by someone who didn't like your face or tone or timing. 1 in 3 women admit they record interactions that make them uncomfortable. And uncomfortable is subjective. It depends on things you can't control. Height, jawline, status, charisma, same behavior, different judgment. A man who fits her type is confident. A man who doesn't is predatory. A good-looking guy can walk up with clumsy lines and get praised for boldness. An average guy can approach with perfect respect and get treated like a villain. One of my clients learned this the hard way. Successful engineer, decent-looking, polite. He approached a woman at a bookstore, said hello, and accepted her rejection with grace. Thought it was the end of it. But she had recorded him, chopped out the respectful parts, and uploaded a clip titled, "Why Do Men Think They Can Just Talk to Us?" Overnight, it hit hundreds of thousands of views. His face was visible. His coworkers saw it. Partners he worked with saw it. HR called him in. He didn't break a rule. But none of that mattered. His career and reputation took damage because a stranger decided to convert a normal human moment into online content. Now add the cold numbers. The average man must approach 20 to 30 women for one number, and only a fraction of those numbers turn into dates. A single date can require over 100 approaches, and every one of those rejections carries not just emotional sting, but the potential for public humiliation, viral misrepresentation, ruined social circles, or the nuclear option, being branded something you're not. That is the new cost of doing something your grandfather considered ordinary. And what's the payoff? A first date with someone juggling a lineup of other options shaped by social media fantasies, and just as likely to ghost after you invest time and money because she didn't feel a spark. When men realize the risk to reward ratio is upside down, the decision becomes rational, not emotional. Self-preservation, not insecurity. I've counseled men who had their entire careers derailed from a single misunderstood interaction. A man complimented a coworker at a company event, something harmless he'd heard older men do his whole life. "You look nice today." One sentence, she filed a complaint. He lost a promotion, his internal reputation never recovered. This is where the modern man's story begins, with a reasonable question he's forced to ask every time. Is this worth risking my future? And the deeper we go, the more obvious the answer becomes. The shift didn't happen because men suddenly forgot how to talk to women. It happened because the culture around them changed so fast and so violently that normal male behavior became a liability. The Me Too movement exposed real predators, men who abused power and deserved every consequence that followed. No sane person denies that, but the aftermath created a ripple effect that reached far beyond those men. Ordinary guys watched careers crumble over misunderstandings, awkward moments, or mismatched expectations. They saw men who weren't predators being treated like predators anyway. And the lesson embedded itself deep in the male psyche. Good intentions don't protect you. Truth doesn't protect you. Only avoiding the situation entirely protects you. So they adjusted. Because now, perception isn't just part of the equation, it is the equation. A woman's interpretation of your behavior weighs more than your actual behavior. Accusation outruns evidence. Feelings outrun facts. And her discomfort, even if it comes from misreading your motives or from something as trivial as not being physically attracted to you, can carry real consequences. You're told to be confident and take initiative because that's masculine. Meanwhile, you're told that unwanted attention, something judged only after the fact, makes you a harasser. It's an impossible riddle. How do you know if your attention is unwanted before you express it? You can't. And men learned that the safest answer is, don't try. I saw this play out with a client at his gym. He and a woman exchanged smiles for weeks, clear signals in any normal era. He finally asked for her number. She said yes enthusiastically. They dated for a short while, then ended things. No drama. Months later, without warning, she told gym staff he'd made her uncomfortable for a long time. He was banned on the spot. No conversation, no investigation. Years of loyalty to that gym evaporated because her memory of the encounter shifted. That's the world men navigate, where consent today can become discomfort tomorrow, and tomorrow's discomfort becomes today's punishment. This leads to the brutal double standard at the core of modern dating. The exact same approach, same wording, same tone, same respect, is either charming or creepy depending completely on whether she's attracted to the man delivering it. A tall, handsome guy can be direct, even overly bold, and she'll frame it as confidence or chemistry. An average guy can give the softest, most respectful introduction, and she'll describe him as intrusive. It's emotional roulette with rules nobody wants to admit exist, but men see it. They feel the contrast. They notice how the world reacts differently to attractive men and average men doing the same things. A client of mine saw this firsthand. He's 6'2", fit, good job, solid social skills. For a month straight, he and a friend, same job, same income, same personality, used the same approach lines at bars. He got numbers 60% of the time. His friend, 5%, 12 times worse outcomes for identical behavior. The only detectable difference? Genetics, looks, height, things neither man chose. This double standard bleeds into everyday interactions. Women today respond to approaches with a level of hostility that older generations would have considered shockingly rude. Your grandmother might have said, "No thank you," with a warm smile and ended it gracefully. Today, many women behave as though you violated them simply by starting a conversation. They've been conditioned to treat male attention as an intrusion unless it comes from the narrow slice of men they already desire. The hostility isn't subtle, it's performative. Eye rolls meant for an audience. Exaggerated body language designed to send a message. Loud rejections crafted to humiliate rather than decline. It's not just "I'm not interested," it's "how dare you try." I watched a man approach a woman in a coffee shop, perfectly respectful, calm tone, gave her an easy out. She didn't even look up, just said, "You." "No," in a voice loud enough to freeze the entire room. Her goal wasn't to decline, it was to shame, to show everyone around her how disgusted she was by being approached by a man she didn't pre-select. This isn't a rare exception. It's the default setting in many environments, because modern women aren't just rejecting men, they're rejecting the idea that men should approach them at all, unless he's one of the tiny percentage they already want. Everyone else is an interruption to be punished, a reminder of their superiority, or an irritant that needs to be swatted away so he doesn't try again. And this growing hostility leads straight into the next truth, one most people refuse to talk about out loud. Women's expectations, desires, and self-perception have drifted so far from reality that the dating market can no longer function. And once you see how deep the mismatch goes, everything that follows makes perfect sense. Before the dating market collapsed, there was at least some alignment between what people wanted and what they themselves brought to the table. But today, the expectations many women hold are completely detached from reality. And this isn't said with bitterness, it's said with accuracy. Because when you compare what the average woman demands with what she offers, the math simply doesn't work. And men see it clearly because they're the ones paying the price of that mismatch. I worked with a woman recently who perfectly embodies this pattern. She was 36, significantly overweight, deep in debt, living with roommates, no savings, no career trajectory, no particular skills. Nothing inherently wrong with any of that. Many people go through hard seasons. But here's where the disconnect hits. Her baseline requirement for a man was 6 feet tall, makes over 100 pounds a year, fit, confident but gentle, ambitious but emotionally available, wants kids but doesn't have any, financially stable, socially polished, and fully ready to commit. When I gently asked, "What do you think you'd offer a man like that?" she didn't reflect. She didn't consider the question. She got offended, like the question itself was disrespectful. She said, "I shouldn't have to bring anything. I'm the catch." That reaction isn't unusual anymore. It's common. It's been reinforced culturally. The belief that merely existing should be enough to earn the top percentage of men. And when even average or below average women aim exclusively at above average men, the entire system breaks instantly. Most men simply don't qualify for the standards most women now consider minimum, which means most approaches are doomed before a single word is spoken. You see this mismatch everywhere. The single mother with 3 kids who refuses to date men with kids because she can't deal with drama. The unemployed woman who insists she needs a 6-figure earner because she deserves stability. The woman who's 80 pounds overweight demanding a fit man, and when fit men decline, she calls it body shaming. The woman living paycheck to paycheck demanding expensive dinners, then labeling men cheap if they suggest something simple for a first date. The pattern is the same across age, culture, and lifestyle. Contribute nothing, demand everything, shame men who don't meet standards they themselves could never meet. And men? They don't get angry at this, no, not at first. They try, they approach, they put themselves out there, they make conversation, practice social skills, learn from rejection. But at some point they hit a wall that nobody warned them about, approach fatigue. And this isn't the tiredness that comes from being shot down. Men can handle no. Men have handled no for generations. What they can't handle is rejection that comes packaged with hostility, disgust, humiliation, and social punishment. Each rejection today cuts deeper because it's not just a simple decline, it's a statement about your worth as a man, your value as a human being, sometimes even your morality. And that kind of rejection compounds. It doesn't fade. It stacks like emotional scar tissue. I've coached men who made 200, 300, even 400 approaches over years. Guys who really put in the work. Guys who approached respectfully, handled rejection with maturity, and genuinely believed persistence would eventually lead to success. But the success rate was so microscopic, and the emotional damage so enormous, that they finally quit. Not because they hated women, not because they were bitter, but because their mental health was collapsing under the weight of constant, demeaning rejection from women who never even considered them human possibilities. One man said something that perfectly summarizes the modern dating experience. "I don't mind being rejected, I mind being treated like a threat for trying." That one sentence captures everything. Men can take no. They can take awkwardness. What they can't take is being treated like their interest is an attack, like their presence is offensive. like they're predators for saying hello. So men look for alternatives. They look for safer systems. And for a while, dating apps appeared to be the solution. Everything was supposed to be easier online. No public humiliation, no misinterpretation in front of crowds, mutual interest before messaging. In theory, it sounded like a fair system, but once men entered that world, they discovered something devastating. The digital marketplace isn't a level playing field. It's a slot machine designed to keep men hoping, swiping, and paying. One of my clients tracked his stats over 6 months, 3 apps, $400 on boosts and premium features, 2,000 swipes, 47 matches, 7 responses, 2 short conversations, 0 dates. He's a normal guy, good job, healthy, decent photos. Yet in the digital marketplace, he was invisible. And his story isn't the exception, it's the average. Dating apps didn't fix the approach problem. They magnified it. They showed men their true place in the modern hierarchy with mathematical precision. And what came next was even worse, something that completely killed men's motivation to approach at all. Because while men struggle to even get noticed, women are drowning in attention. Once women gained unlimited access to digital attention, everything about real-world dating changed. Because in previous generations, a woman's romantic options came from the people around her, her community, her workplace, her social circle. Today, her options come from a global marketplace of men delivered directly to her phone. Real men standing in front of her simply cannot compete with the never-ending stream of validation modern technology provides. I see this constantly in public spaces, women sitting at bars swiping through dating apps while real men are sitting 5 feet away, men trying to start conversations with women who can't look up from Instagram for more than 3 seconds. Women scrolling through messages from strangers while ignoring actual humans, attempting genuine interaction in the same room. When your attention is fed by dozens, sometimes hundreds of men at all times, the guy trying to say hello at the grocery store doesn't feel like an opportunity. He feels like background noise. He feels like an interruption in the middle of the attention buffet she's already consuming. One of my clients approached a woman at a party. She was alone, approachable, seemed friendly. He introduced himself politely. She barely looked up, muttered, "I have a boyfriend," and went right back to scrolling her phone. Mutual friends later confirmed she didn't have a boyfriend at all. She simply wasn't interested in pausing her digital validation long enough to speak to someone in real life. That's the environment men are walking into. You're not competing with other men, you're competing with her screen. But the biggest shift, the one that truly scares men out of the dating arena, isn't digital abundance. It's the legal reality waiting behind every interaction. Because hidden inside modern policy, HR regulations, and expanded definitions of misconduct is a system that turns normal human courtship into legal risk. Approaching twice can be called harassment. Following up after a date can be framed as stalking. Misreading signals, something universally human, can be reinterpreted as assault if her feelings change later. I worked with a client who experienced this nightmare firsthand. He went on 3 dates with a woman, mutual attraction, normal progression. She initiated the first kiss. 2 weeks later, she suddenly ghosted him. Confusing, but common in modern dating. He sent 2 polite messages, nothing demanding or emotional. "Is everything okay? Did I do something wrong?" That was it. She didn't respond. Instead, she filed a police report claiming he was harassing her. The police contacted him, brought him in for questioning, treated him as though he were a legitimate threat. He was never charged, he'd broken no laws, but the report became a permanent part of his record. It shows up on background checks. It follows him for life. His only crime was caring enough to ask what happened after she pursued him. This is the moment modern men finally understood. They have no protection. If a woman decides to reinterpret an interaction, whether minutes later or months later, her word outweighs yours. In social circles, her accusation becomes the story. In corporate environments, HR assumes guilt to avoid liability. In dating, the man is expected to initiate, yet punished if the initiation is unwelcome in hindsight. It's a legal and social minefield with no clear rules and no safe answers. And this is why men stopped approaching. Not because they're scared of women, but because they're scared of a system stacked against them. A system where the consequences are severe and the rewards are fragile. A system where effort is punished and restraint is mocked. A system where one misinterpreted moment can cost a man his reputation, his job, even his future. Your grandfather lived in a world where approaching 10 women might lead to a few pleasant conversations and possibly a relationship. A man today approaches 10 women and risks being filmed, labeled creepy, dragged online, reported to HR, or even investigated by police, and still ends up alone. The rules changed, the expectations changed, the culture changed, and men adapted the only way that makes sense. They opted out. Women fought for independence and got it. Men hoped for appreciation and didn't. So men recalibrated. They chose peace over chaos, solitude over accusation, logic over pressure. And society calls them weak for making a rational decision while ignoring the irrational environment that forced that decision in the first place. The truth is painfully simple. Approaching women has become a losing game. And men finally realized they don't have to play. That's not fear, it's intelligence. That's not cowardice, it's self-protection. That's not giving up, it's choosing themselves. And until the incentives shift, until the hostility softens, until the risks drop and the rewards rise, men will keep stepping back. The dating market didn't collapse because men failed. It collapsed because the rules were rewritten without their consent. And now the same people who changed the rules can't understand why men walked away. They don't realize the most important lesson men learned while standing on the sidelines. Men don't need women nearly as much as women need men, and that's the truth no one wants to say out loud.